Salute to you all. The brave never fall. On this part 2, we're going to dive a lot deeper into the mindset of purpose and unconditional love. We will continue on with that because this is a very important subject, and it's something that I chose to focus on because of all the things people ask about life when I'm trying to give them helpful advice and I'm coaching somebody through a difficult situation. And the good thing about coaching someone through any situation that you feel confident you've been through and you know you can get through is that you know where some of the foundational blocks are to start getting this person to realize how a difficult situation can be overcome while they're still questioning, is it even worth it? Is it even worth putting in the effort to understand the reality of why they should even deal with a particular situation, especially when things start snowballing and just getting completely out of control? Where is the limit for anyone? What is the threshold? Everyone has that threshold, that cliff where they're standing there and they just feel like, I just don't know what to do. Should I make the leap of faith and hopefully I land on the ground safely? Or do I turn around and go back and scream and yell for help? We go back to options, which we talked about in part 1. There are always options. And as long as there's an option, sure, you can take that leap of faith, but you can also step back and turn around, retrace your steps and see where you went wrong. Or there's another option. You can stand there indecisive, fearful, and ponder all the things that could be while you're standing in stasis, looking down and not knowing what's coming up from behind. You're not even turning your head. You're not trying to do anything other than deal with the moment that you're stretching like a band. You're stretching out all the feelings and emotions in that moment. And what's happening is that while these things are stretching out, you're making that moment longer and longer and longer, and those feelings are building and building. The tension is building and building and building, and eventually it's going to snap. That snap will be your mind. And we've seen a lot of times when someone snaps, they don't always come back. Not to the person you once knew, and not the person that you thought this person could be. That is where purpose in life comes in, and why we wanted to go back through this. Let's start with unconditional love. If you haven't seen part 1, I encourage you to go back, watch the first part, and pick it up from here, because I don't want to waste precious time rehashing all the things we talked about in part 1. But one of the big things we talked about was unconditional love. And how can someone ever, if you expect them to, unconditionally love you if you do not unconditionally love yourself? We're not even talking about the simple love and appreciation of your own life, your own appreciation for your own life. The unconditional love for others. Can people unconditionally love you if you don't unconditionally love yourself? The harsh reality of it is that you would think that no, people cannot. And as we stated in the first part, that's not entirely true. People will and can accept you and love you unconditionally for who you are. But just think about the possibilities it would open up if you truly unconditionally loved yourself fully with purpose and priority and self-discipline. If you truly knew your wealth, knew your value in life. If you knew your intent in life. If someone is willing to love you unconditionally, they're accepting everything about you that is you. And depending on the relationship, as we stated in the first part, we don't always talk about unconditional love as forms of companionship and being in a relationship with a man or a woman. We're also talking about all the aspects and communication you have with all people in life. And through communication, we build relationships, and through relationships, we build connection, foundations that will, in some ways, in a lot of ways, affect your life and the decisions you make and the options that are presented to you. So knowing who you are and all that is extremely important, right? Because you have to figure out immediately where you fit into this puzzle. and what your worth is. What piece are you in this puzzle? And if you haven't figured that out yet, you're just a blank piece. And there are different puzzles that are out, and you have no idea where your piece goes in that particular puzzle. Now, I would like to say you want to give yourself more than one piece to just one puzzle. There's never just a simplistic one form piece of you. There's always, you're a puzzle yourself. You have pieces you have to figure out for yourself until you form your own piece that goes into the puzzle of life. But you have to figure that out. And in order to do that, that takes a commitment to yourself. Just like you take a commitment to a job, just like you take a commitment to a relationship, to an investment, to a business transaction, to the responsibilities of having children, to the responsibilities of doing anything that requires you to be super laser focused on how you're doing this particular task, what your relationship is with these people, with the tasks that you're doing, what the goals are in your life, your obligations, your duties. These are things that you have to understand who you are to be able to do all these things. And if you're not confident about who you are, if you're unsure about your purpose, if you're confused about your value, it's extremely important that you figure these things out, because they will not be presented to you easily. It's like a murder mystery. There are clues everywhere. Your purpose in life is not trying to run away and hide from you. It wants you to find it. Otherwise, you wouldn't exist. Your meaning in life is out there, or you would not exist. People die all the time never having found it. I don't want you to be one of those people. And the sooner you are aware of that possibility that you may die without knowing what your true purpose in life is, it will make you want to, hopefully, jump on that bike and start pedaling towards wherever it is to get the mystery started, and to pick up that first clue and examine it for all that it's worth, and take that first clue very seriously. What is that first clue? Each person is different. I would say, for me, through my journey, my first clue was being aware that I was alive for a reason. That was my first clue. And then it branched off from that. That once I became at peace with that, and that wasn't an easy process. I even doubted that. And that took a while for me to just say, you need to be happy with who you are. You are not going to look any different. You're not going to get any taller. Your financial situation at this point in time is what it is. Your relationship status at this point in time is what it is. And you're going to have to figure out, how do I start with what I have and start building a foundation of goals and aspirations, things that I would like to accomplish. If I had all the money in the world, what would I do? And what I sat down and did is I wrote down every possible job title I could possibly write down that I felt like I would love to do if someone just gave me the job. And what I found out by doing that, for me, it was a multiple different things. I mean, I had a whole couple pages in a notebook filled with just job titles that I thought I could do, careers that I thought I could do, business opportunities. And what I found out once I stuck them all under an umbrella and found out what job does this encompass, I found out through that I wanted to be a filmmaker. And then I realized growing up, that's what's always one of my passions, was I love film. And it encompassed all of my talents. And I realized that was my lifetime goal. That was going to be the hardest one to achieve, would be a filmmaker, because it requires the help of people that for the level of films that I wanted to create, I knew I would need help. I would need money. I would need time and patience. I needed to learn everything. I needed to know the business aspects of it. I was like, that is a huge goal. But why can't I get there? Because if I put that there, I'm going to be on a path that's going to make sure that even if I don't reach filmmaker, I can be an independent filmmaker. I can do documentaries. I can do short stories. I can do short films. I could be a screenplay writer. I could be a cinematographer. I could be a photographer. I could be an art director. I could be a producer. You see what I'm saying here? Every single career has a path like that. And no matter where I fall on that tree, I'm going to love it because it's all attached to my ultimate goal, which is filmmaking. Now, people might say, well, what are you doing right now? You're a motivational speaker and you're a coach and yeah, but what are you listening to right now? And we touched on this in the first part. I have to make these videos. All the art's done myself. All the music's done by myself. I write out all the show notes. I do all my own research. I put together a business plan for my brand. I have a plan for my brand. I have a plan for The Brave Never Fall. I have all these things still fit underneath that umbrella of filmmaking. Through filmmaking, I learned how to edit. Through filmmaking, I learned how to compose scores, how to write, how to communicate, how to speak, how to put together a business plan, how to put together models, how to put together goals, how to be self-disciplined about it. So The Brave Never Fall never would have been created had I not had that original goal of wanting to be a filmmaker. I never would have learned the skills to create these podcasts. This is the message I try to tell people. These are practical things that you just heard from my mouth that work. And this is just the beginning of The Brave Never Fall. The plans I have for The Brave Never Fall and how the people that it's going to help will also help me reach my ultimate goal. I'm only 40 years old. I have a long way to go. This is a healthy start based on where I came from. But enough about me. We're not here for me. We're talking about you. That same model works for anyone, no matter what age you are. If you're a senior citizen and you feel like your life has come to an end, don't look at it as an end. Stop yourself in a moment and look at it as a moving forward point. This is your new beginning. There's always a new beginning in every moment that passes. It's how you approach it mentally. How are you addressing it mentally? And how are you looking at yourself internally, in your mind? Unconditional love. Let's go back to that one, which is essentially self-love. It will help you find your purpose. You want unconditional love for yourself because it will, again, plant the seeds for you to be able to communicate with people in a way you never dreamed of. I know this through experience. I used to be shy, severely introverted, and I could not have an unawkward conversation to save my life. It was only when I started understanding people that I could have conversations with anyone. And I became known as the person. And this happened when I was in probably high school, especially going into college. I recognized I had a gift to be able to talk to anybody from any walk of life as if I had known them for 20 years. Anybody who's ever talked to me, who's ever known me, that's the first compliment they always get about me. I feel like I've known you my whole life, man. And it comes from a place of me being aware of who I am. Because I'm comfortable in my own skin, I'm able to accept that I don't have to impress anyone. I don't have to prove myself to anyone. I'm comfortable with who I am. I don't have to speak perfectly. I can stumble over my words. Who cares? Everybody does it. I don't have to have the tallest, most perfectly sculpted frame to call myself an athlete. I'm an athlete. I'm a runner. You don't have to be the best at anything. You don't have to be the richest person in the room. You don't have to have the most gorgeous spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend by your side. You don't have to have the perfect parents. You don't have to have the perfect house. All you need to have is the perfect awareness of who you are. And own it. You owning who you are is an essential part of your existence. That's part of existing. That's part of your purpose. You owning every fault that you know you have in your life that you created for yourself, you have to own them as you own every victory. We are very quick to bathe ourselves in victory, in success, in reward, in gifts, in presents, and everything good. That's great. Anybody can thrive in that shit. What happens when everything is the complete polar opposite of that? What's your mood like then? I'm sure you've all met somebody who was sitting a little bit too high on their horse living it up, everything's great. And then one thing happens to them and they don't know how to react, and they're never the same. Because everybody knows how to handle life when things are going great. It takes a very special, strong, unique individual to handle all the bad things just as they would handle all the good things. That's called a healthy balance in life. That's knowing truly who you are. When things go bad, which they inevitably do in life, you have to be able to handle those things in the same type of way you handle everything when everything's going normal and great. There shouldn't be a big, huge drop off for everything is going great. I'm the greatest person alive. I'm so happy. What's up, man? Oh, what are we doing this weekend? And then one thing happens and all of a sudden you're cowering in the corner. Leave me alone. I hate you. And you start making excuses about everything in your life and lashing out and blaming everyone else because of your problem. No, you should handle it just like that. Hey, this is a problem. I'm on it. I'm handling it. It's good. It's temporary. It's in the moment. I'm going to get stronger from this. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to pass on my knowledge. I'm going to help somebody else if they help me. And we're going to move on to the next thing. When things get back to normal, I know I learned something. I know I'm at a better place because I went through something, but I did not compromise who I was in those moments. I was the same person when things were down than they were when things were up. Now, nobody's asking you to be a robot. That's not what this means. Because your heart is going to make sure that even though your mind is strong enough to handle it, your heart is still going to produce feelings in you that are going to feel overwhelming. And that's normal. If you don't have those, you are a robot. You are not human. You are an alien. But I would say this. How often does that actually happen? It happens more than you think. But I think people have come so accustomed to things being normal that you kind of dismiss all those feelings you have when things are going normal. What are the feelings like when everything's fine? How do you feel? How does your heart feel when everything is just, which, by the way, I don't believe there's no situation where everything's just fine. There are things happening behind you and all around you that are about to make you have a bad day. You're just not aware of it, but they're happening. That's why I always tell people to prepare for it. Even people are walking around, everything's great. And I just want to say to them, I know it feels that way, but just make sure in the back of your mind, you know that while everything's great, anything could happen that is happening around you that can make it not great. So in reality, as great as things are, nothing is ever truly 100% great, because that means we live in a utopia collectively across the board, which we do not. But when you think about just your average day, when you go home from a long day and everything happened pretty much as expected, it was a normal average day, what are the feelings like in your body? You still have feelings, but it's almost like there's nothing there, right? It's almost like, for me, it's almost like there's an emptiness. There was something that I didn't do that day. It's like something should have happened today. I know nothing happened. It's a normal day. And then I think to myself, I'm not saying something bad should have happened. Maybe I should have pushed myself where more good could have happened. I don't want to go to bed feeling a little bit like I didn't feel anything today. I don't want that feeling. I'm not saying I want the bad. Who wants bad all the time? The good thing about pushing yourself and being in a situation where you like to accept challenges and you create them for yourself, I create little challenges for myself every single day, is that I love the full range of emotion from each day. I love my creative challenges that make me sweat and I'm tired and I'm frustrated. I'm trying to learn something new and I can't get it because I know that I'm creating it for myself. So, quote unquote, it's a bad situation, but I created it myself. So it's not really that bad. And I know that I can always, because I did that, that leads to joy for me. That means it's a good day because I got to be frustrated and super happy in the same day. That's a full day. And I like that. And that's not for everyone. That's just me. I'm a little out there. You want to talk about aliens? I am one of them. But I don't think that's too far off from most people. I think having a full day of emotion constitutes that you lived that day. You created some memories. I mean, you don't want to go 3-4 days in a row and you don't have any. Someone asks you, what have you been doing the last few days? You just go blank. That's not good either. Obviously, it's in the morning. Chicken's in the background. I apologize for the noise. But we're going to now talk more about the unconditional love thing, moving into your purpose. And again, in the first part, we talked about how people can love you unconditionally, and they will. But today we're focusing on why you can get even more unconditional love from these people, even though they love you unconditionally. But how much more would they love you unconditionally if you truly accepted who you are fully and you surprised them with things that they didn't even know about you? That you surprised them. They already loved you. They already loved you unconditionally, but you surprised them with more. And that's where we were trying to get at in the first part. It's not just enough for you to just say, they love me. Why? She's my mom. My job loves me because I'm a hard worker. It's great that they love you, but at the same time, that's completely different than what you're feeling inside yourself. Because if that's how you're feeling about other people loving you, that's probably how you feel about yourself. You want to love yourself so much that you feel like your body and your mind is protecting you in this world without you even realizing it. You just feel protected everywhere you go because you know the people that say that they unconditionally love you, they truly mean it because you do. And it doesn't matter to you at that point, really, if anyone loves you unconditionally, because you know you have the foundation for yourself. You will always have unconditional love in your life because you already have it within yourself. And that sounds corny, but it's very true. You stop relying on other people so much when you truly get there. I know this for a fact. Now, I wish I had this mindset my entire life because it changes the game. You would think that type of mindset would put you in a place of loneliness, but it doesn't. It actually draws in more people towards you when you're like that. Because people can see, what is it about this person that they seem like they like and enjoy my company. They like talking to me, but they don't need me. They don't need me to shower them with platitudes. They don't need me to come up and shove money in their pockets. They don't need me to pat them on the back and reassure them about everything in life. They're fine. If I never talk to them again, they're going to be okay. So there's no need for me to be some kind of fake person around this person because they don't care. That's what these people will start doing. And this is what I figured out for myself. And the people who can't handle that type of intensity from you, they won't even attempt to talk to you. They know you're going to sense the deception, the manipulation, the selfishness, the narcissistic qualities within them, if they have those things, the self-loathing they have in themselves, the lack of confidence they have in themselves. That doesn't mean you don't talk to them. I talk to plenty of people who have those qualities. I don't try to keep them in my life because they can end up being a toxic person depending on what their mindset and situational what their situational circumstances are currently at that time. But you don't worry about that when you have self-love. I don't worry about if somebody's trying to manipulate me. I can sense it. I don't worry about if somebody's fake. I can sense it. And they can sense that I sense it. They know. And it is something that once I started seeing it, there was a level of confidence that was raised in me that put me to a level where I started thinking, okay, I'm starting to get the mind figured out here. My mind is starting to get figured out. I'm focused on things that are making me better. And through doing that, I'm getting more things done. I'm far more self-disciplined. I'm much smarter, much more on task. My communication skills are better. I'm much more aware of myself and everything that I've done wrong and everything that even potentially could do wrong. I know what I'm capable of messing up on. So I'm trying to fix those things. I know what people who are important in my life. I'm trying to fix things to make sure that I keep those people who truly unconditionally love me. I want to keep those people in my life. They're not toxic. They love me. And that's when you'll start kicking into gear and you'll start seeing flaws all within your game when it comes to life. You'll start picking up puzzle pieces of yourself where you're like, I didn't even know. What is that? Wow, I didn't even know that existed. But it all starts at the core of self-love. Here's a quote about self-love as we move into purpose. The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. It's a beautiful quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. That pretty much sums it all up. What is the point of life if you aren't truly living it? What is the point of love if you aren't truly loving? What is the point and purpose of anything if you aren't putting all of yourself into it? Now, a lot of people say to me all the time, well, you're not putting everything into everything. And I always tell people, you know what you just did there? And they say, what? I said, do you often judge people? Would you consider yourself a person who judges others? Most of them say no. Some say yes. Most of them say no. They say no. I say, well, what do you think you just did when you asked me, am I putting 100% effort into the things that I do because I should be at another level of what you believe I should be at? I guess I just judged you. You did just judge me because you can't internally see somebody's effort. You can't internally see somebody's drive and their passion, their inspiration, and their motivation internally. You can kind of sometimes see it physically because you can see people working and effort and all that, but you don't know what's going on in people's minds, in their hearts, in their souls, and physically in their bodies. You don't know how bad people are hurting. You don't know where people's hearts have been in life, broken and shattered and trying to be pieced and stitched back together. You don't know where people's minds are when they're about to snap and they've been through hardships and they've been broken down and they have no self-confidence whatsoever. So I do not like saying to people, unless it's so blatantly obvious that somebody's been extremely lazy and can give a better effort. If somebody has a goal and it's not fitting into the realm of the timetable that you believe this person should get to, but this person is content and happy with where they're at in their progress, you have to accept a part of that. Because motivation for people like that is only going to get them so far. People like to get in someone's face and they start screaming, you move your ass. You're not doing enough. You need to do more. You're sleeping too much. And I always tell people, well, that's you. That person is obviously not motivated by that, whatever it is you did. Which is why when I do these podcasts, you don't see me yelling and screaming and trying to motivate people like that. Everybody's motivated differently. And usually I always say the motivation, all the motivation, which David Goggins is the one who planted this in my head. My personal mentor, the guy who truly changed my life around, David Goggins. He says true inspiration and passion is found within you. Not from somebody yelling at you. Now, someone can do it, but you can yell in the wrong person's face all day long and they ain't going to move a muscle. They'll shut down on you like an old car. It just doesn't work. You have to find the individual aspects of each person and piece them together and find out what truly motivates that person. Some people are motivated by words. Some people are motivated by actions. Some people are motivated by goals. Some people are motivated by success. Some people are motivated by failures, which is me. I love being motivated by failure. Failure is my motivation. I love failing because I know I'm only going to fail at anything so many times before I succeed. So I love to fail. I love a good, healthy challenge that's going to push me to fail. But everyone's different. Everyone's timeline is different. You cannot superimpose what you believe someone should be in life when they're living their life. It's their life. If they're moving too slow for you, too bad. If you love them unconditionally or if you truly care about this person, you're going to make sure you're still making time for them and you're walking alongside them as best you can. Sometimes you do have to leave people behind and say, hey, look, when you get to where you need to be, come look me up. Because some people will drag you down. But that's their choice, right? That's their choice. The purpose of life is to contribute in some way to making things better. The purpose of life is to contribute in some way to making things better. That's another good quote by John F. Kennedy. Your contribution to life is extremely important, which is why you shouldn't judge others, because maybe they haven't figured that out yet. That doesn't mean that they will. and discouraging them by telling them they're not doing enough, when maybe they're not even aware that they aren't doing enough, because sometimes they aren't. You lead them down the wrong path, and at that point, you're not helping. You're discouraging someone who is trying to perhaps find unconditional love, and they need all the help they can get. And as we go into intermission, remember, everything and everyone in this world is connected. Back to that quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. To reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. And I believe life is all about that. Knowing yourself to a certain point is great. And I think that is the reason why a lot of people in this world are unable to ultimately find self-love for themselves, because they go right to the brink of being comfortable, where everything's okay, where everything's normal. Back to that again. There's different levels. Things bad, normal, good. And then there's levels in between that and beyond both of those things. If things are bad, they can get worse. If things are good, they can be great. But too often people get caught in this web of normalcy, of being average. And one of the things with the brave never fall is not only picking yourself up when you fall and not just laying there forever. The brave ones get up and they keep moving. It's when you get up, don't step back up to the line where you got knocked down at and say, okay, this time I'm going to do a better job, but I'm going to stay here because I know I can do it. You have to keep moving. The journey truly is one that is supposed to keep moving. Your path never ends. Even when you move beyond death, we don't know what happens after you die. That path might keep going. You have to envision life as there is no end point. There is no end. You have to visualize that. And I know that sucks for people. That is something that people don't want to think about. That there is no resting point. There's no point where you can say, okay, I'm here, I've made it. You will always get to a point where you've made it. That's the whole point of reaching a goal. But what are you going to do after you make it? Are you just going to stand there? Or are there other things in your life that you want to do? Again, newer and richer experience. Newer and richer experience. People talk all the time about all the things that they want to do, and I always say to them, why don't you do it? And then they start telling you why, and a lot of it has a time thing. And I say to them, I didn't say you had to do it right now. I said, why don't you do them? When I say that, I mean in your lifetime. Make them a goal. Start working towards them, one little step at a time. The things that will push you to getting those goals, you will find those little goals along the way will keep you going, and you will reach that goal far faster than you think. But you have to get started on them. And they have to be focal points. So when you're trying to reach a goal, reach it. When you reach that milestone, start walking further. Start climbing higher. Because you don't want to get stuck in a stasis of being this tree that when you just stand there, you reach your goal, you reach your spot, now you're just going to stand there and wait for someone to come and chop you down, or a storm to split you in half. If you want to avoid the storm and the people who are running after you trying to chop you down, you have to keep moving. You don't have time to just sit and plant your roots into the earth. You have to do things that are beyond what you even believed, because that's where the true rewards of life come into play, is when you start planting these seeds and you walking further and you can see your flags of hope in the future. You know where the goals are, and you start accomplishing these goals one little one at a time. You don't try to do the whole thing at once. It's not going to work. You're going to fail, and you won't even know why. And it's because you skipped so many steps that the reason why you failed is blind to you. You didn't know what you didn't know. Which is why I go back to saying, when people are not on the timeline that you are, give them the benefit of the doubt that these people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what you know yet. Give them time. If they're truly passionate about something and they have self-love for themselves and a self-discipline, they will figure it out. Nothing will stop them. You become a freight train at that point. Freight trains don't always move super fast. They seem like they do, but relatively speaking, they're not that fast. And they're very limited on what they can do with where they can go on those tracks, right? Eventually, you want to get off the freight train and you want to expand a little bit. You want to go underwater. You want to go in the air. You want to walk on land. You want to go up the mountains. You want to go in the valleys. You want to be all over the place. You don't just want to be on the freight train. But there's nothing wrong with being on the freight train. Sometimes it's needed. Sometimes you need to run. Sometimes you need to walk. What you don't want to do is stand still. Newer and richer experience. Pushing yourself to do things that are out of your comfort zone also helps with that. One way to test how much strength you have mentally and physically, and how much value you have for yourself with love, self-love for yourself, is by the areas that you want to improve upon, doing some things outside of those areas. They may correlate with them a little bit, but taking on some small little challenges and doing things that will test who you are so you can better find out more about yourself. We talked about that in part 1, so I won't go too far into that. But that is a very helpful tool, and I like to reiterate that as much as possible, is that the more you get knowledge, which is why I encourage people to read and try to we have phones. Just Google any random word and learn something new. It doesn't matter if you're interested in it or not. But I try to do that all the time. I do it with all types of things. Every day I try to learn something new. And sometimes I like it, and sometimes I'm like, I will never do that. I will never listen or learn that again. But you're still learning that you don't know, or you don't like something. It's still a learning experience. We talked about that in part 1, so we won't go too deep into that. But that's branched with who you are and why it's important to keep moving, because you don't want to stand still, because you won't learn anything. Your body won't adapt to anything. Your muscles will have no purpose in reacting in the way that you need them to react when something really is asked you to do it. Your mind won't. Your heart won't. Your soul won't. You have to test the boundaries of what you are as a person. What are you? Are you a strong person? Or are you a weak person? How many people have you met where you thought, or they thought they were super strong? Something happens, you find out they're an emotional, mental wreck. But they truly believed with every single blood vessel in their body that they were the strongest person you've ever met. Have you ever met someone that was perceived to be a very weak person, and then it blew your mind when something happened and how strong and resilient and resolved these people were? They don't fold under pressure, but they appear to be, feeble and weak, mentally, physically, emotionally, until something happens, and then they change your opinion about them. Again, that goes back to judging people. I never do that anymore. I used to do that. Hey, guilty as charged. And I used to hate when people did it to me. But it wasn't until I truly figured out who I was where I accept everyone for who they are. Their strengths will come out when they are called upon to do it. And when they do, they will always know what they're capable of. They just haven't created the challenges yet. They're waiting for the big challenge to hit them. I don't recommend those. I recommend if you could prepare yourself for anything, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Because there are things out there like heartbreak that you can't prepare yourself for, really. That heart is something that you can't really prepare yourself for at all. But the other things you can. You can prepare yourself for a lot. Because that heart is what's going to test you the most. That's where the unconditional love comes from. That soul is connected right there inside of you. When that heart gets damaged, that leads to a lot of problems. Because I'll physically wear you down. Doesn't matter how mentally strong you are at that point. Which is why I always thought emotionally, a lot of times emotions, they're connected to struggles. To going through hard things. And you can harden up that heart just like you harden up that mind. That doesn't mean you turn into to a robot who is incapable of loving, or you turn to a big stone behemoth who just walks around pissed off all the time because you've closed your heart off to everyone. That's not what that means. We're talking about you being able to emotionally handle things just as well as you're mentally able to handle things, and physically able and spiritually able to handle. Don't forget about your heart. It's not just meant to be in love with someone. It's not just meant for fear and wonder and being blown away by amazing, beautiful, awesome things. That's not, the heart has strength to it. When you connect that heart with the mind, the body, and the spirit, and they're all connected, your heart isn't as vulnerable. It has backup. And that's where you want to get to. Here's another quote. Living in a way that reflects one's values is not just about what you do. It is also about how you do things. Living in a way that reflects one's values is not just about what you do. It is also about how you do things. Now, this is going back to that judgment aspect of things. Because we see people all the time who criticize other people about how they're getting through life and where they need to be. They're coming down hard on people. You're not doing enough. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And in a lot of cases, it's fair. It's a case-by-case basis. It's also about who you know, what they've been through. But when you see things, it is also about how you do things. How you carry yourself eliminates all that. When you start finding self-love, you found a inner confidence about yourself that kind of puts up a little shield that says, you can say whatever you want to me. I know I'm doing the best that I can in this moment. I know what my self-love is, my self-value. I know where my threshold is. I know how strong my mind is, my body is, my heart, and my soul. And you can say these words to me. But unless you're attached to me at the hip and you have some kind of device where, like you're Ant-Man, and you can somehow get inside of my mind, you don't know me. I've had to tell people that because people have actually walked up to me and said that I'm unmotivated. And it's laughable to me because they're basing it on what they've done. They're super successful. They've made it. They've done certain steps and they believe everybody should do it that way. That's not how it always works. There's nothing wrong with being linked up with other people and having companions and being involved with other people's ventures and having business partners and having a spouse. But you also have your own rhythm in life. You also have your own pulse in life. Your essence of who you are is paired with your existence. So you exist for a reason. Unless that person can tell you, yes, you are here for this reason. Really, the only person who can really tell you why you're here for a reason is you. Anybody could walk up to you and say, hey, you were meant to do this. If you don't really want to do it, those words meant absolutely nothing. Absolutely worthless breath of air coming out of a person's mouth. Because if you don't believe what they said, what difference does it make? You have to believe. You have to believe you could do it. And a lot of times people are completely off base. And that's why I wanted to bring up this aspect of self-love, is that you have to be confident and stick to your guns about who you are. If you believe truly in your heart where you're supposed to be, unless it's so outrageously wrong and immoral and it's going to hurt people and it's going to make other people suffer, that is your right to believe in that dream, to believe in that goal and go get it. As long as it's not involving other people's demise, that's your problem. That's your decision. Those are the options you're presenting for yourself. Those are the challenges you are creating for yourself, and you have every right to do it. As long as it's coming from a place of self-love and self-worth and self-value, it doesn't matter what other people think. If you're not hurting anyone and you're going to be holding yourself accountable for what you do, no one has the right to walk up to you and say you're not doing enough. That's up to you to decide. It's your life. Keep your lips zipped and don't complain about your life if that's what you choose to do. But it's your life. And I recommend everyone start there. That doesn't mean you don't listen to other people and take advice, because that's part of self-love as well, is knowing when to take the right advice from the right people at the right time. There are going to be times where you are wrong, fundamentally, morally wrong. You have to understand and accept that as well. That's part of self-love as well, is knowing when you are wrong and holding yourself accountable for that. Too often I hear people say, I love myself unconditionally. I could do no wrong. And I look at them like they're nuts. You can do no wrong? Who are you? Superman? Supergirl? Or Superwoman? I know a lot of people. I'll throw that one out there because I don't want anyone to get it. I didn't create the characters. But it's that sort of thing. Yes, you can do wrong. You can do a lot of wrong. There are a lot of people out there with self-love who are doing bad things. That doesn't always translate into you're a good person. That's a completely different subject. Self-love does not mean you are a great person as well. That means you are aware of what you can do. You have a super vision of what you need to do and where you need to go, what your goals are, what your priorities are, what your ultimate purpose is in life, and your intent in it. That's all there. But again, that goes back to hurting people. That's why I said that's all well and good. But if you're using it to rob people or steal people's money through businesses, or manipulating the people around you who love you unconditionally and they're unaware of what you're doing, and you're just being malicious, and you need help and you're not admitting it in certain areas, self-love doesn't mean that. I mean, there's plenty of people out there with self-love who need severe therapy and medication in some cases. Severe therapy. But you look at them and you think that everything's fine. Again, it goes back to judging people. One way or the other, you cannot look at a shell of a person and take it all in and say, this is exactly what you need. Which is why I always thought with the Brave Never Fall, I would never take that approach with people. To walk up to someone and say, this is what you need. The approach of the Brave Never Fall is to be there by someone's side when they're ready to admit they need help. They need strength. They need allies. The Brave Never Fall is a connection of people who are strong, who have been there and are ready to pass on knowledge to other people. And we will hold hands and walk with you on your path. But at any point in time, we know this is the moment I got to let your hand go a little bit, and you're going to have to experience some things for yourself. You're going to have to create some own challenges for yourself, and you're going to have to figure out through your own trials and errors what your self-love for yourself is and how strong you really are. Because that's the only way you're going to become brave and bold in life. And that goes back to the newer and richer experience. That's where the brave and bold concept came from, that type of mindset. You have to be brave in life. You have to be brave enough to stand up to the people who are telling you you're doing everything wrong, and accept it if they're right and reject it if you feel they're wrong. But it's self-accountability. You have to hold yourself accountable there. You won't know if those people were actually right or wrong until later. How do we make the decision? People ask me that all the time. Intuition. Again, you have allies. Everything's backed up in your body. If your mind is having trouble making up decisions if people are telling you the right thing or the wrong thing, your heart will make that final decision. That's what you should listen to. What is your gut telling you? What is your heart, your intuition, your soul, your essence in life? What is that telling you? That is how I make my decisions. My mind will put together all the facts, put the puzzle, try to piece the pieces together. But my heart is going to make that final determination of whether should I go left, right, or keep moving forward. Do I want to bring this person along with me? Or do I want to remain alone for a little while? Do I want to join these group of people? Or do I think they're toxic and I might need to just take a step back? It's your right. If these people are not toxic, if they're not toxic situations, you're going to find yourself with these people or these types of people in these situations, in these circumstances that will be presented to you that you're having a hard time making a decision about. If they're good, they will keep reoccurring. Now, you can say the bad ones will keep reoccurring too, but if you reject a bad thing once, you're much more likely to reject those more times, and they'll eventually go away. Seem like they don't repeat themselves too much. At least that's in my experience. When bad things get presented to me, after a while, they don't. I don't even see them anymore because I know they're bad and they're toxic. I stay away from them. The good things keep reoccurring. You'll keep finding what I call them. They're like angels. They just keep popping up. Hey, you remember that thing that someone reminded you of 2 or 3 years ago? And they just kind of keep walking. You're like, oh yeah, why does that keep repeating? Maybe I should check that out. It's okay to have doubt and come back to things later on. It's okay to reflect upon new things that are presented in your life. That's healthy. That's good. You're not being irrational by jumping on every ideal that someone throws at you. You owe it to yourself to give it the proper time to think about these things, because it will lead into your true purpose and what your intent is. Here's another quote by Deborah Day, who is a writer and a Canadian film director, by the way. The best way to ensure you achieve the greatest satisfaction out of life is to behave intentionally. She says the best way to ensure you achieve the greatest satisfaction out of life is to behave intentionally. Intentionally. What is your intent in life? You can have the goals. You can have the purpose, the priorities. You can have the self-love. You can have the mindset, the intuition. What do you intend on doing about all of that? What do you intend to do about all that? Because that's what gets you moving from just standing still. You can start thinking, okay, how am I going to piece this together? I intend on doing this. I intend on doing that. But how do I do it? What's your intent? Are you motivated enough? Again, going back to that. How motivated are you for the particular things that you're saying you want in life? Which is why I go back to the ultimate thing that we were talking about at the beginning. Writing down, visually seeing all the things that you feel like you're good at in life. In life, what are the things that you're good at? And if someone could give you these things right now, what would you want? And then you look at all that. It will reveal things about you and your life that is almost like things that are going to happen in your life that you aren't creating for yourself. You will look at it and it would be like a book of things, like almost a memoir of your life that you could have, but you didn't do anything. That's what I saw in front of me when I wrote those words down. When I wrote down writer, musician, composer, photographer, all these things that I thought I was good at. And if someone could give me careers with those talents, with things that I was good at, I started looking at them and I thought to myself, this is insane. Why can't I do some of these things? Why can't I do all of these things? Is there anything I could do where at least a piece of these things can be integrated? This is me. I wrote these things down. These things are me. I intend on making these things come true. I want these words to become my reality. They aren't dreams anymore. I wrote them down. I can see them. They are me. They came out of me. That means this is why I exist. And through these things, I will find my purpose. It took a long time for me to find my purpose through those things, but I found them. I know now what I need to do in life. I can see everything that I would like to have in my life, and I'm accepting all the things that are going to come that I don't see. I welcome them, good and bad, because that's part of life. You don't just get the good. You don't just get the good. Your purpose in life will not be filled with just pleasantries all the time. There are going to be times where you are going to get down on yourself, where you are going to fail miserably, but you have to accept that well in advance. That's what quells and pushes back those overwhelming emotions in your heart when those situations happen. When you accept that they are going to happen, your heart is already dealing with it. It's telling you, be ready for anything, be strong. Calm yourself, breathe. You're going to be okay. No matter what happens, you are going to be okay. That's what my heart is telling me all the time. It's constantly telling me, I got you. Let your mind wander. Let your mind think. Let your body be physically exerted. Dive deep into your soul and feel your presence. Keep walking. I got you. I'm breathing right along with you at my own rhythm, not someone else's. Your rhythm, your existence, your purpose. You have to be proud of your existence. You have to be so proud of it. Because pride is going to keep you going forward when those things in life start to come in and start unraveling for you. When that puzzle gets thrown in the air and all the pieces go everywhere and now you're scattered all over the place and you have to try to pick them back up after you thought you had already completed the puzzle or you were close to it. When the people you care for the most let you down, big time. All those things do not have to happen within you just because they're happening externally. When chaos is going around you, that doesn't mean you're a part of it. You can shield yourself in what I call the strands of knowledge. The strands of being aware of your body, aware of your soul, aware of your heart. You're shielded with that, like an armor. You can raise this armor and lower it at any point. But you can't get any of that if you don't understand that you have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to push yourself beyond everything that you feel you already are and create new things in your life every day. I am constantly creating myself. I don't want to be a masterpiece. I don't need to be a masterpiece. I just want to be the best version of myself at each moment. Each day I want to get a little better. Newer and richer experience. You want to keep pushing the experience you're having in life. You want to enrich your content of yourself. You want to constantly be upgrading your software. Keep getting smarter. Keep your body in good health. Review and reflect on your soul and who you are as a person. Allow your heart to feel emotion to the fullest so you're not so rushed with emotion whenever a situation pops up unexpectedly. Create those moments for yourself through experience, through trial and error, through creating little challenges that you turn into victories each day. Live life to its fullest. Have bad parts of your day and have good parts of your day. Create them if you have to. But be super aware of who you are in life, what your intent is in life. Don't sit back and hope that because you're a tree, you're just going to keep growing and be the biggest tree on the hill and you'll be respected. There's no one around to see you. You're alone. And there's nothing wrong with being alone as long as you have self-love and you keep moving and experience life for all it's worth. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.